What's up, guys, and welcome to the Love and Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Dave Lipson.
And I'm your co-host, Camille, Leblanc-bazinet.
And today, we watched the CrossFit Games this past weekend, right? 2023 CrossFit Games.
Yes.
And we, as a family, got to show Zoe. It's fun to watch Zoe see the CrossFit Games, and we're sitting there telling her, Mommy used to do that. And for a lot of our listeners who may know you and some who don't, like Camille has a pretty impressive resume as a CrossFit Games athlete. She's gone to the Games 10 times, both as an individual and once on team, and she's the 2014 CrossFit Games champion. And with that championship, we won a large check, which is, literally a large check, very big. There wasn't a single bank that would take it.
Dave insisted that we put the check.
Yeah. It's not, it's funny, it says 275,000, but we did not get 275,000.
I know, that's what
we didn't get half of it between taxes and agent fees, and we're joking how at the end we bought a truck.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to, just like you did with me, maybe do a little interview to get to know you a little bit better and talk about your history and maybe the parts that people are not as familiar with, starting with, how did you get into CrossFit? Like how did you go from a very normal, regular girl in Quebec, Canada, who was going to college and partying and just living a very regular, normal life to being a world recognizable elite athlete?
Yeah. I think saying that I was quote unquote normal is I've always been very intense.
You guys are very fun.
I've always been very intense. I
think
think
in Quebec they have like it's a fun culture. Quebecois are like fun. They like to have fun and party and do all the things.
Yeah, I think there's so many reasons I think why I ended up where I ended up. But two big ones were when I was 18, I got a huge car accident. I got into a very bad car accident.
Was this during the wintertime?
During the winter.
It's very icy up in Quebec.
Yes, I hit, it's called black ice.
Also known as ice.
Also known as ice, but we say black ice because you don't see it on the road. And I did like this thing, how do you call it, pummel, like my car.
The car rolled over?
Yeah, my car like did some 360 in the ditch.
Some basic tumbling.
Yeah, some basic tumbling. And I hit my head really hard on my windshield, opened my head, and then was followed by a neurologist for a year to make sure like that my brain was coming back normal, which we know that might not have.
It's funny. I remember you telling me the story the first time, and your English has gotten so much better because the first time you told me this story, you go, I hit black guys, and I heard I hit black guys, and I thought, well, that's not a good idea. And then the second thing I thought is like, there are black guys in Canada, but there are. Anyways, that's
oh my God. So that happened, and when that happened, it made me very scared that I wouldn't be like smart because after that accident, I could tell that it would take me a delay to like answer back. And
you were a little slow?
I was a little slow, and I felt it, and it got me really scared, but it also gave me this, in Canada, you can start drinking and partying when you're 18, and I think I was older than that, sorry for that accident. I think I was 20, because 21, I think, was my first CrossFit game, and that's maybe the year after. I was 19, and then I just got accepted in college in engineering.
To Sherbrooke University.
And
that's like a couple hours north of Montreal. Really not in any, it's not like a big city, right? It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And it's a long drive, I know, because I've done it with you dozens of times. Like it's like 2-hour drive on a lonely highway each way.
Yeah. So I think that happening made me I was very scared that I wasn't going to be good enough in engineering to be able to get like my degree in engineering. And I think it like forced me to like kind of get really focused in things. And at the same time, I've always loved doing sport and all of that. So someone introduced me to CrossFit. And I just really, really loved the challenge. And I think kind of those two things together like was a good combo for me. I felt like I had something to ground me physically. And then I was very like focused mentally to try to be really good at school because I was literally scared that I was never going to be have like my brain function like it used to be.
So you had a concussion maybe, right? And you know, that I think that's kind of normal for people who do have a concussion to be like followed by a neurologist. And sometimes there are those like lingering effects of like maybe short-term memory loss or not as sharp for a little bit. It came back, obviously, right? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
So.
We hope so. You tell me, you know, Quebec, it's such a cool culture and they're a really, like, especially when you think of Canada, Quebec is really its own culture to itself. It's like a throw. It feels like you're, I mean, you're in a different country, but it feels like you're in an old Eastern Europe country. It feels like you're in France. And their culture is so fun. The most popular sport in Canada is
hockey.
Hockey, right? And so it's
I was just thinking about what you were saying because it's really not like France at all.
And they love hockey.
It's more like
they love fighting. They pride themselves on being like tough and raw. And I know it's so cold up there sometimes in the winter where you just freeze yourself through your bones. Tell me about your first CrossFit gym. Like, where was it? What did it look like?
You saw it, right?
You told me about it, but I feel like people know.
No, I don't think
people are used to like nice CrossFit gyms, and they don't know like there was a time when like one, you couldn't even find a CrossFit gym, but two, if you could, you might be taking your life in your hands. So talk about your first gym.
Yeah, so 2009 is when I started doing CrossFit, which in Canada, it was like...
Just starting to catch on a little bit.
It was like, there wasn't like any CrossFit gym. And the first one I started to train at was an old gas station.
Now, was that one of those gas stations where they changed the oil and there's just like a hole in the middle of the floor?
Yes.
Okay, so you gotta don't lift weights there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was definitely a like hole under the matting in the middle of the floor.
It'd be so funny to come up, do a handstand walk right into the abyss.
Oh, we didn't handstand walk back then. That was not even like...
Was there heat in the garage?
I think I'm not even sure. What I remember is that we would follow the CrossFit.com no matter what.
Just .com hardcore.
Just no matter what.
That is so Quebecois, just like hardcore, pour some salt on it.
And then, so no matter what, right? So if it was like in the middle of the winter with a blizzard and the workout was hell, we would do the workout in remember, this is an old gas station.
Yes,
okay,
I know,
so it's very tiny. Like there's not much space in it. So we would go outside, run on the icy sidewalk, and everyone would like put their jacket.
So what would you just like tiptoe on the ice? I love it. That's so great.
So we would run outside in the ice, then we would come back inside, like take our gloves off, then do like, pull up kettlebell.
That's so funny.
And then we would like throw a hat and our jacket back on and like go back run outside.
I know exactly what you mean because this year we were up in Canada for Christmas and I remember specifically the walk from the car, from the parking lot at Crunch Fitness to the door where I was like slipping on ice and just trying to get to the door. I'm like, fuck this. This is terrible. Can you imagine like working out outside in that? It's insane.
All the pull-up bar were rusty.
There were
and they were all made up, so they were like those like really big like metal pipe. Like it wasn't like literally almost.
So they were very thick pull-up bars. Like okay.
Like almost nothing at the gym was like now you have like all this beautiful Rogue equipment.
Oh, it's insane. It's wonderful.
It was none of that. It was all like janky barbell. They were only guys bar like.
So they're cold and they're thick.
Yes, and like powerlifting bar wasn't like Olympic lifting bar. It was very hard
to find Olympic lifting bars before they were being
I'm pretty
mass
sure
produced.
all the bumper plates were not the right weight, and also the colors were different. So the 45 pound plate were like yellow.
So I
And
remember-
it was so confusing the first
I know you
time.
started that gym, and I know there was like a couple of equipment distributors up there. And when I would go up to train with you, I would look at like the bumpers, and half of them were missing the collar, the brass ring on the inside, just to slide them on. So you were just like sliding an empty hole of rubber, which didn't actually fit the bar. So when you lifted it, it would like bounce around. There were no like there weren't any really big CrossFit like apparel brands at that time either. Like Reebok wasn't in play. There was a Noble. I mean, there was like Innovate, I remember, but like what
No, 'cause
like what kind of clothes would you wear to do CrossFit in, like for sneakers, for instance?
Well, so this is something that I had no money when I started CrossFit. So the only pair of shoe I had was the pair of shoes I already had.
Okay.
Which
what were those?
They were Saucony
I know
running
exactly.
shoes.
They're awesome running shoes.
With holes in them, and I've had them for years. And if you
Do you still have them?
No, but I wish I kept them. But if you go back, look at the footage of the CrossFit game, those are the shoes I'm wearing with holes in them.
So it's good. They're broken in. They got good mileage.
And I remember my first CrossFit game was also the first time I've ever saw weightlifting shoes, which used to be made of wood.
I remember the
That
first time
makes me sound like such a dinosaur.
The first time I walked into a CrossFit gym in New York, and like this was coming off of like regular strength and conditioning, right? And I remember walking in and just thinking, these people have wooden shoes.
Yes.
I was thinking, are they? I was looking. I was like, are they bowling shoes?
Okay, so
like,
so think about it. So the first event
what was the company? It was like it started with a D, and it had the
That's
Velcro
exactly
straps.
what
It
I'm
was like
trying
Do
to-
In or something.
I think
Yeah.
something like that. So that was literally the first event we did at the CrossFit game in 2010 with this workout Amanda with those squat snatch. So a lot of the girls were wearing the wooden shoe,
That's a big advantage.
and I remember just being in line and being like, what? What are they wearing? What is this? And I thought that it was the weirdest thing. And
Until
I was
you
like,
got into a pair of lifting shoes.
I was like, oh,
amazing.
that's great. Yes.
Oh man, that's so funny. So, like, what inspired you to even like want to compete? Because I know that you started doing this at that garage with your sister, but that's a long ways from like the CrossFit Games. So how did you get there?
Yeah, so some people at the gym I was going to, they would do like, I would just jump in every single local competition because you know me, I love doing things. I love being part of anything. I would sign up for like half marathon out of the blue. I would sign up for almost anything that was like available to compete in. I would just do it.
So I think people are so used to like competitions and structure, like whether it's like Wadapalooza or the CrossFit Games or these kind of like regional throwdowns now, but I don't know if people were around or even aware that, back in the day in 2006, 7, 8, 9, there weren't any there was the CrossFit Games, but there was nothing else really. And so the community was, I thought, a lot stronger because you would regularly have like 4 or 5 gyms in the local area be like, hey, let's meet up at this gym on Saturday and we're going to have a competition and drink some beers. That's usually what it was. So it was like a workout party with a couple of events, and they were usually staged so poorly because like the gym gets so crowded, so there's no room to even walk or like lift safely. So they'll take like some police tape and put it around the floor.
Yeah,
or
it was like the gym would do a little throw down, and then the 2 other gyms that were like in Montreal would come in, and then the like members would judge each other, and then it would be like sometimes they would try to get like creative with the event, and it would be like the most. We did this thing once. I'm sorry. We would do the most random stuff. Gosh, it was so.
They're really gonna like reinvent the wheel
fun.
with like new exercises.
So we did this thing that in one of the events that we would they put like a 45-pound plate standing up, and then because we're Canadian, right? We had a barbell.
You had to spear it with a barbell?
No, and we have to fake like shovel over.
Oh, I know, virtual shoveling.
We had to like shovel
Wait a second.
over.
No, I think that was
And-
programmed once on the
and
main site.
all of us,
and-
our back were so messed up after because
They're
you're
like,
like hunched over. Oh,
Yes, constantly varied. It's okay. It's a great excuse for
It
any
was-
level of terrible programming. You just
We
like,
had
chalk it up
like
to
a-
variance.
we had another event that was like, oh gosh, it was so much fun though. I loved
I remember overhead squatting
I
you in
loved
one of
it
these.
so
That was like,
much.
I was supposed to like clean and jerk you overhead and then overhead squat
Yes,
you. Yeah.
we did a team stuff
Yeah.
together, and
It was
I
good.
clean and jerked my sister,
Yeah.
and I was doing back squat with her or something like that. And then one of the event was a running event, and it was like there was no distance. It was run 2 blocks down and go across and
Well,
come
let me
back.
explain to you like why
Oh,
this
it
is so
was
awesome.
so
Because
fun.
at that time, like people were used to either going to a gym and working out completely alone by themselves, not talking to anybody, not even
Mm-hmm.
talking to the front desk or the other people in the gym. And now they're being thrust into like this fraternity, which is like a co-ed sport, you know?
Yeah.
And what I love about those years was like if you were like a good athlete in let's say Montreal or the Northeast, like where I was, like you knew all the other good athletes really
Yes.
well. Like you would try
Yes.
to train together. There was like a really strong community. And so they obviously recognize you're pretty good at CrossFit.
Well,
and
so I
who,
did-
Who recommended that you go and try to compete?
Oh, no one.
Okay.
But it's just because I wanted to be part of it all. So then some of the folks on my gym in 2009 when I started, they tried, like back then there was no regional. It was like the semi or whatever. And I went to cheer them on. And in fact, I was discouraged from signing up for it.
So people are like, you're not ready. You're not ready
yes,
for this yet?
exactly. Because I like started CrossFitting like a month before.
There's no way.
And I was like, I don't care if I'm not ready. I just want to be part of it.
Well, yeah, because it was like
So then
it was
I
the kind
went
of thing
to
where
watch, and
people who were good at CrossFit at that time had probably been doing it for like years and had to they had to like go online and read articles in the CrossFit Journal to learn how to make parallettes so that they could try to figure out how to do a handstand push-up or a kipping pull-up, like. And so as it became more popular,
yeah.
like it was almost like the kind of thing where like, you know, there was a level of seniority for people who've been doing it for a while to be like, no, like you got to wait your turn.
So I went to watch, and I mean, I was very young, and then I saw people compete, and I was like, I want to compete in this. Like, this is so fun. And then that was also the first year, 2019, that I started college.
19. The decades go by really fast. It was 2009.
9, God, yes. 2009 was the first year I started college, and I just decided that I was going to try it.
So you were,
I just
you
wanted
were in
to-
Sherbrooke in college,
Yeah.
which is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I don't think there was a CrossFit gym in Sherbrooke.
Nope.
So were you training 2 hours away every day?
No, so what I would do is that I would go to the club fitness gym of the school,
Oh, yes, I've been there before.
and I would
That's right.
makeshift everything.
Well, they had like an Olympic lifting platform.
No, not
and-
back when I started.
What?
They ended up having one like years and years
So you-
after
so
because
you
it
were
became
like,
popular.
You were like in the squat rack doing thrusters and like kipping on the bars that are just not meant to be
yes.
kipped on, and you know the whole like
I would-
cable cage is rattling as you try to do kipping pull-ups.
So I had to learn to do kipping pull-up on the cable machine cage.
Yep.
You know, they always have those like styrofoam, like black handle that would come out.
Well, yeah,
that
so,
are
like,
super
you've
slippery.
got- the typical thing is like the cable columns where you have like a long stretch in the middle that's empty, and then 2 columns with like
Yes.
lat
So
pull
in the
down and
middle,
low row.
there's like
In the
those
middle.
weird handle that are way too
Yeah,
high.
and people like pop up there and they do some strict pull-ups, but very few people are like swinging around doing bar muscle-ups or something.
So I'm
on there.
learning to do my bar muscle up on that.
And they've got like a
And I'm-
neoprene grip with angles on them. Yeah.
So I'm learning to do everything on that. And then there was like one barbell. And then there was one rower, but it might have been like the water, like those weird one that you get.
What did people at this gym think when they saw you? Like, because when people go into the gym, I think the biggest thing, especially in that club atmosphere, is like, I don't look silly. So what did people think of you, like going to that gym, like doing burpees in the
they
middle
tried
of
to
the...
kick me out so
Okay.
many times.
Yep.
It was weird.
People don't realize there was a
Like
time...
the trainer would like I felt like
They were circling
I
you,
was,
like they didn't
yes.
like what you were doing?
No, it
Yeah.
was like vulture around
Yeah.
me, just
It's
waiting
like-
for me to not put my equipment away
Yeah.
or like, and I
You
was
can't-
always,
You can't drop your weights, that kind of stuff. You know,
I
people
was
don't
very
realize
careful to be out of the way of everyone. I'm
it
like,
used to
I'm
be
Canadian.
so
So
hard to do CrossFit like in a regular gym. Like it's a very common story at that time to hear about coaches getting kicked out and athletes getting kicked out of gyms because, in fact, Greg Glassman it was one of them.
Yeah.
He got kicked out of multiple gyms because he kept on trying to do it at Gold's Fitness until he realized, like, I think I need a different kind of gym to do this because it's just too disruptive to the other members.
So what I would do is, because my school was so far from, any CrossFit gym, is my family opened a gym where we live, and I would come back to my parents' house on the weekend so I could train in a CrossFit gym, and I would come back Friday after my last class. I would train super late on Friday because that was the only time I had like access to a CrossFit gym, and then I could train the weekend there. And then sometime I would sleep on Sunday night.
So you take like a long weekend to train, kind of pack your weekend with training, and go and do a couple workouts during the week, like at your school.
I would still train a lot during the week, but this Sunday was the craziest one because I was so determined that sometimes I would sleep at the gym on Sunday because I had to be at school at 8. My first class was at 8 a.m.
I remember sleeping at the gym with you. We did a lot of stuff at that gym.
And it was, shut up. And it was like 2 hours drive. So I would sleep in the gym, wake up at 4, try to get a full session of training, and then drive to school.
So we get to like your first competition, like the qualifier for the 2010 CrossFit Games. You know, I think like, especially in Canada, it's a pretty tight community. Everyone knows like who the good athletes are, and you're not really a known athlete.
I wasn't
And
supposed to be part of that.
You weren't even considered the best athlete at your gym.
No,
right? There was like
no.
another girl who had like she was popular and everyone talked about it. Yeah. And so you were kind of like just kind of showed up and competed. What was that qualifier like?
Well, so the first one, it was like where was it?
Was it in BC or was it in like?
No, that was the second one.
Oh yes, I know you said. This is one where there were like multiple stages. So they did something where it was like a sectional in your area, and it was a qualifier to go to the regional.
Yes, but it wasn't called a regional. It was called
sanctional.
Sanctional. So you had to do a something and then get to the sanctional, and then you would get to the game. But the first one was like in the middle of nowhere, and we gosh, my memory was such a long time ago. And I showed up there, and it was like in this high school gymnasium.
Yep,
okay, like a basketball court.
I remember judging one in a parking lot.
Yeah, it was on a basketball court inside because we're in Canada, and obviously couldn't drop the load. And my family was with me. And I remember I told the girl that was there, because she was considered one of those, like, maybe is going to make it girl. And I think I was on the starting line, because she told me that story later. That's how I remember. And she was like, so, like, what are you hoping to? And I told her, I was like, I want to go to the CrossFit game. And she thought it was so funny that I said that.
It's kind of like, well, we
she
all
was,
want to go to the CrossFit game.
Yeah, but in her head, it was like, but, like, no one knows you. Like, and then so I ended up winning that event. And then I ended up going to the CrossFit game. And I ended up, like, training with her a couple of times that year. And she was like, man, you said it. Like, she was
Well, you and I are very similar in that regard. Like, since I was a little kid, like I've always been very ambitious and in my goal setting. Like, I'm going to do this. I remember like being a little kid and in 8th grade being like, I'm going to be on varsity next year, and people laughed at me, and I was. But I think that's like, it doesn't even occur to you that is maybe a very
goal.
Ambitious goal.
Yeah, no,
and I think
so
the reason
true.
it doesn't occur to you, and probably the same reason for me, is because I don't care. Like, you know, they're like, well, it takes a lot of work to do that.
Okay.
And you're like, well, we don't care. We'll do it.
Okay.
Right? Like,
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
it doesn't even matter.
What
Like,
else am I going to do with my day?
Exactly.
Just like sit down, do nothing, and hope.
Yeah, we're very used to doing it. I think the hardest thing is just knowing that there is a way. You know,
Yes.
not that the way is hard, but that there is a possible way to
Yes.
do it. But once we both know that there's a way, it's like, we'll just do it.
So that was kind of the nice thing for me. Like I would honestly jump into any competition that was there, because every time I would, like, the thing about CrossFit is that you're not like gonna win everything. So every time I would do a competition, it was like constantly taking like mental note and analyzing and seeing like where I need to get better, like what's the next step. So for me, the fun of it was the hunt, and I really got addicted to getting better.
Because you
like getting better.
I think you started with some like really good advantages, right? Probably things that most people who start doing CrossFit, like, they probably can't do. So I know that immediately, like, you excelled at the gymnastics because you have a gymnastics background, but not so much on like the strength side of things, right? Like, you didn't
Well, I
really
don't even know if I did excel at the gymnastic at first.
Well, I was there. I can tell you excelled at the
Okay.
gymnastics because there was no other girl that could do handstand push-ups, and you were like banging out 20 in a row. So yes, you excelled at the gymnastics. But at the
But
same
I'm saying I don't know that because I think my biggest strain is my engineering brain.
Yeah.
And I would get completely obsessed with efficiency. Like obsessed. I would go to bed and I would do, like, for example, those instant push-ups.
Yeah.
I would like think about it for hours in my head. What if I put my hand like this, like that, like this, like that? And then I would like be at the gym, and every single training session I've done since I started was always, for example, if we're doing like front squat in a workout, well, I would bring my elbow a little bit higher. Okay, does that feel better or worse? Does it feel better? My feet are wide. If my feet are narrow, this is more quad, this is more hamstring, this is more. It's like my brain has always been like that, which
You're
really
constantly-
helped. Like,
it's like a survival thing, I think.
but
It's
it
like-
wasn't just like I feel like I've never worked out in a way that was like, I'm just looking at the clock and I'm just putting the work in. It was like everything was very analytical, constantly.
So you go to the CrossFit Games, and this is like where you're so happy to be there. I know.
Oh
'Cause
my God, we need to find that my first interview ever.
You show
It
up.
was
You
so
show up to
funny.
the. It was at the StubHub Center, right? The Home Depot Center, actually, at the time. And
Oh, that's
this
a
was
funny-
so cool
that
because it
was
was
a
moving
funny
from the
story.
ranch, where it was just kind of like a throwdown kind of thing, and now it was like, whoa, like it's in a stadium. Like, this is really legit. You show up for registration. What do they tell you when you show up for registration?
So I showed up to registration with my older sister.
What were you wearing?
Wait, let me tell the story.
Okay.
Okay. My older sister, she's like my #1 fan. So Claude is my older sister. She is dressed as a CrossFit Game athlete.
She was volunteering on the medical staff.
She was
too,
volunteering on the medical staff. So my whole family, huge fans of CrossFit.
Oh, yeah.
And so my older sister is decked out from head to toe, like the bandana and the glasses and the booty short and blah, blah, blah. And I have my hair down curly and I'm wearing a little sundress. So
with like tennis shoes on.
I don't know. Most likely the only shoes I had. Yeah, and then I go to sign up.
Did you guys fly out or did you drive out?
We drove out
Oh,
because
wow.
flying was too expensive for me and
So
my family.
when you drove out, it was like the whole family in the car?
The whole family drove out
How
together.
long of a drive is that?
I think it was like 50 hours.
Okay, good, yeah. So just to kind of put it in like
Yeah,
50 hours locked in a car with your family.
So putting things in perspective, the only way I could attend the CrossFit Game was that because I couldn't afford a ticket to
Yep.
fly. So
I think
my
like,
whole
at that
family drove with me.
I think there was an effort to help athletes get there. Like, for instance, there was an athlete from a gym who couldn't afford to go. Like, the gym would try to fundraise around them.
Well, someone reached out to help to say they were going to do that for us and then ended up never giving us any money,
Yeah.
which was devastating as someone who really needed it.
Maybe they didn't want you to show up.
But yes, I think that might be what happened, but I don't want to, but shame on them for that. So my whole family like pitched in and drove me out to the
Wow.
CrossFit game.
That's a very Leblanc-bazinet
Yeah, which is
attitude.
pretty amazing.
We will crawl there.
So just also to put things in perspective, we're 4 kids.
Yep.
So I have 3 sisters and a brother and my parents, and we all stayed in one hotel room for the whole CrossFit game, the cheapest one we could find.
In Carson, which is like a stone's throw from Compton, which is like the ghetto of South Central.
And then we went shopping at Costco. So I was eating those big Costco whatever between events.
That's right.
Like everyone had all their nice little meal plan, and I'm there eating the roll up
your
Costco.
Mom used to get like an 8-pack of Oscar Mayer's bologna and put it in her backpack. And she'd be turning around. I remember being in the stands watching you, and not at this one games, but at the future ones, and she would pull out her backpack and be like, "You want some bologna?"
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man. Yeah. So I don't remember how we got to this. Me at the CrossFit game for the first time, but that
was the first time that I saw you. I didn't talk to you.
Yeah. Wait, we're not done with the registration, because I showed up to the registration, and then I have I still have an accent, but back then it was like very, very thick.
Or as you would say, very tick.
Yes. You're right about that. So I show up at registration, and before I can even say my name, they dismiss me and show me that to buy ticket as a spectator.
Oh, they didn't think you were a competitor.
No, as a spectator is 2 tables down.
You must be a spectator. You don't look like an athlete.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they turn over to my older sister.
Who's on the medical staff.
Like she might be the one competing.
Not you.
So I repeated a second time. I was like, "Hi, I'm here for the CrossFit game." And they were like, "Oh,
no,
she's
she doesn't
so
understand. She doesn't get the language. No, it's over there."
She's cute. So then I ended up literally pointing down at my name, giving my ID, and I'm like, "That's me." Yeah. And then they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, good luck. Wink, wink. You're gonna get eaten alive."
Well, so I remember that year. So that was the first time that I saw you, but I remember that.
It was the first time everyone saw me.
The first event of the games was a workout called Amanda.
Yes.
And it was after a girl named Amanda Rose Miller, who I was friendly with.
She's very close to your heart.
She passed away from melanoma. It just came back, and she didn't make it. And I did, that year.
You spent a whole year?
A whole year trying to do a fundraiser for her. So I didn't know that workout was coming. And, when they programmed it, I was kind of like right by the floor. And Dave Castro, and we were pretty friendly, even now, we haven't talked to him in so long, but he was like, he kind of like looked at me and he's like, "Oh, you're going to like this." And then the flyover was the first time they had like the flyover come. And then as soon as the planes came, they just said 3, 2, 1, go. And people were so shocked because they weren't prepared for the planes that they were like, "What's happening?" And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, the clock's running. I got to go and work out."
So just so you know, on my side, because I was the little French Canadian, they put me in the first heat.
Well, the way the heats were arranged was based on your placing in the regional or the sanctional. So all the 5th place finishers would go in the first heat, right? So
most of the Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the foreign people, all the really
they put all the foreign people in. I'm crying because it's so funny.
They're probably not as
cute
good.
little people.
And honestly, most of them weren't. But that workout goes out and it's squat snatches at 95 pounds, 85 pounds actually, I think. And
no, it was 95.
And muscle ups. And it was was it 15, 12, 9 or 12, 12, 9, 6? It was 12, 9, 6.
What are you talking about? It was 975.
975.
Jesus Christ.
How many reps is that, 975?
Wait, let me say what it was like, because you talk about the airplane and all of that.
You have to do 21 total reps of each movement. Okay, go ahead.
Which was a big deal back then.
The flyover. Talk to me about the flyover.
Yeah, so this is right.
Nobody knew that was coming, by the way.
The athlete either.
Yeah.
And I remember they said something before, and you have to keep in mind, this is I'm French Canadian, I'm learning English, and I'm in line, and they're trying to explain that when the planes are going to pass over the stadium, we're going to start the workout. And I understand none of that.
Yeah.
All I hear is plane workout. And I'm like standing in line. I'm like, plane workout, plane, like, what does that mean?
Code. It's just a plane. It's a very regular plane
and
workout.
I am so nervous because I'm 21 years old. I'm in a whole new country. I'm from a very small town. And I have a glimpse of hope that my life can be more than what it is. So I am like so grateful, so nervous. Like my whole family drove down with me. Like the pressure, the excitement, like is so high that I am like freaking out about the plane workout.
And you know what's funny
thing
is like
that they
when
said.
when I look back at those games, I'm like, man, it felt so huge. It felt like it was so big. And when I look back, I'm like, the stadium's completely empty.
There was like 200%.
There's like not a lot of people there at all. But I'm like, this is the biggest event ever. This is insane. And now it's like it's so much bigger.
True.
But it's all perspective.
But
so,
also because, I mean, think about it when you look back. Our qualification event was on a high school basketball, like
a guy with a
like
clipboard and a
gymnasium,
stopwatch timing
and
you.
now we're in the tennis stadium with lights, and there is over 200 person watching.
Of the most influential CrossFit-related people in one stadium. So,
but I do remember it's so funny you brought up the plane because I remember Russell Berger was my judge,
Yep.
and he was so kind because I think he could tell I was freaking out, and I like I think he was like very empathetic to the fact that, you know, English not my first language, and he could tell I was really nervous.
that's good. Win your judge over. It's like.
And then I remember when the plane flew, it scared me because I didn't understood what they were saying with the plane and the workout.
I bet you got it then.
And,
it took a second to register.
Well, and then he like, I think Russell yelled at me like, go. And I was like, whoa. And then I did way too many muscle ups to start because I was like.
Well, so that's what I remember about
crazy.
that event, because at that time, like you could have like gaping, glaring weaknesses and still be a top CrossFitter in the world. Like you could have things that you flat out couldn't do. There were girls that couldn't do a single muscle up, right? Back then.
Oh wait, listen. Okay, this is such a funny story because how the rig was set. It was like a circle.
Yeah.
Yes. So I remember I did my 9 muscle up. And then the crowd went nuts because I didn't know it was a big deal because I'm from little small town in Canada. I don't know what people can and cannot do. And we were never tested on ring muscle up in all the qualification things I did.
Yep.
So I had no idea that it was,
Well, I think people stayed away
good
from
to be able to
programming
do that.
because they knew that a lot of people couldn't do it. Even like some coaches knew their athletes couldn't perform those movements, so like they wouldn't program them in competitions.
Well, I was very naive.
And there were honestly movements that I think that they believed that like, well, CrossFit would never program this because this would be way too hard,
Yes.
which is definitely not the case.
So I do my muscle up, I do my first sets of squat snatch, and then when I turn, everyone's on the rings. Everyone's doing muscle up on the rings. And I remember being like, oh man,
I'm so bad.
I'm so bad.
Because you thought you were around behind.
Yes! I thought they all did the 9 muscle up and then the snatch way faster than me because I was so like, with the plane and the excitement, it was like.
You better pick it up.
I was like blindfolded, right? I had no idea what was happening around me, but I remember turning and my heart kind of dropped because the only thing I was so scared of is my first CrossFit game was to be last and be like laughed at. And I just remember I turned and everyone was on the ring and my heart kind of sank. And then I finished the workout and I was like, just do your best, you know? Just do your best.
Keep your head up.
And then I finished the workout and then no one was done. And I was like, oh,
You're
yay,
good.
I did
You
good.
won your heat. Yeah.
it was like I did bad, but then I did good.
Well, I think everyone was like,
so
at that
funny.
time, everyone was shocked, like, wow, like, look, that girl can like just rip through muscle ups. And that whole games was like, it was really good for you, I think, because the events they weren't all to your strengths, but they weren't all to your weaknesses either.
Which was like every year.
So there was like the Helen workout with like the pull-ups and You had such a good attitude, I thought, because there was no expectation. You know, you were like you said, like, I just don't want to be last. So when you came off the floor, I remember that was the first time that I saw you in the tunnel at the Home Depot Center.
Because you were a judge.
I was a judge. I was back there, and I just see you come off the floor, and you were just like sparkling. Like your spirit seemed so bright and lovely and wonderful, and I was like, wow.
And you thought I was?
I thought I was. Well, I turned to my friend James, and I said, "It's too bad that girl is from the Ukraine or whatever, because I would love to date her."
Ukraine or whatever.
Yeah, because I didn't. You came off and
funny,
you and your sisters.
Because my
were
sister
going so fast with the French. And I was like, it was like, and I'm like, I don't know what fucking language that is, but
my sister.
There's something really special about that girl that is really calling to me right now.
Funny, my sister, so my older sister was volunteering in the medic team, and then my twin sister was my coach, who was more busy trying to get Guy's number than being my coach, and like was pretty much eating my food.
Nobody comes off of the workout floor smiling and laughing hysterically. And that's what you and your sisters were doing. Like, you came off the floor, and I'm like, everyone's like coming off, and they're like, you know, serious about the workout, and you guys are like smiling and laughing hysterically. Like, it's the funniest thing ever that you did so good. It's so funny. I should not be doing this good right now. I can't believe that. I thought I was in the wrong round. Like, it was so.
That's so funny you picked up on that, because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That
translated to me.
I blew out laughing when I got off the floor, because I legit thought I was so bad.
You thought you were the worst. You thought you were the worst in the world.
I thought I was going to be the worst by far, and it was such a surprise that I could hold my own.
Yep.
And that's literally what we were laughing about. We were laughing about the fact that I wasn't as bad as I thought I would be.
So in the interest of time,
that's so funny. Yeah.
I'm going to start fast forwarding now. So you got bit by the bug. Like, you knew, like, this is it. I can be great at this. This is my way out of Canada. I see that I've got a lot of potential.
Well, I wouldn't say this is my way out of anything. Because, I mean, I never thought I would live in the U.S. meeting you. You, in your head, you were like, this is her way out of Ukraine because she'll marry me.
You've always had big aspirations for yourself.
I had big aspiration. I didn't know
what it would be in.
No, because, I mean, that same year was my first year in engineering school, and I was crushing my score. Like, I just wanted something better for myself. And then that first CrossFit game was the first time I met such an enormous amount of women that were like me.
So there was a girl you keep talking about. We're still friends with her today.
Christy Atkins. She has no idea how
she wasn't always Christy Atkins, right? She was
Phillips.
She was Christy Phillips. And I remember you telling me, like, you were so impressed by her because you'd never seen a girl
have this
be so intense.
Yes.
Be so.
I remember. I have goosebumps thinking about it. She
was climbing the rope and she got frustrated.
No.
She punched the brick wall.
It was the handstand push-up. We had strict handstand push-up, and I think she might have been in my heat or the heat before, after. I don't remember. But I remember as clear as day, she was missing the handstand push-up, and she looked up, and it was like wooden.
The wood or
it was wood.
Yeah. It wasn't plexiglass.
No, it was wood, and she just punched like straight on hand in the wood as hard as she could, and I fell in love with her in that moment. I was like,
you want to have that intensity.
But it's just, I think
you don't want to hurt your hand, but you want to have that kind of passion for something.
But I had that same passion, but it was the first time that I saw, it felt to me like seeing her doing this, it was like, you're also allowed to be like that. Like, you're allowed to not always be like smiling and perfect and, cute little girls. Like, you're allowed to be freaking beast, and it was a game changer.
So that was the first year after those games, like that, you actually started to see some sponsors in the sport, right? And the main sponsor was Rogue, and the other one was Again Faster. And so I remember me being an athlete, being on the Again Faster team.
Maybe we keep that story for another time.
We can.
We've been over 30 minutes.
I'm going to end it at this next phase. So we're on that team, and John Gilson, who owned Again Faster at the time,
Yeah.
was up in Boston. I would always go up to Boston and train and stuff and be hanging out. And I remember talking to him, and we're talking about the team, and he's like, we brought this athlete on and this athlete on. And I was like, John, you know who you should really get on the team?
This girl from Ukraine.
That girl from the Ukraine is gonna be fucking awesome. Like she is gonna be amazing. You should sponsor her. And I honestly truly believe that, although I also really wanted you on the team because I wanted to know you. And that's where we ended up meeting, and I was able to execute my plan. All right, let's end it there. That's fun.
I was so happy to be there that first year.
You're looking at the athletes this year in the games.
They kept interviewing me, and with my poor English, I kept repeating the same stuff. It was like I kept repeating how happy I was to be
Everything
there.
is badass.
And everyone was so badass.
Yeah, everything is so badass.
Oh, the girls
How
are
is it
so badass. I was like, the girls are so badass. It's like they're just badass, and I'm so happy to be here. Oh, man.
And now,
there was
it's
so
crazy.
much love.
We don't have to get into this now, but now it's just insane to me, like how much everything has changed and how much things are still kind of the same in some ways. But like the athletes, the event, what CrossFit's about, the people, like in some ways it's just unrecognizable. And I do miss some of the old pieces of it.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's like, I think it's just natural for things to change and evolve.
There's a lot of things that happened back in those first competitions that I think will never happen again. I have this picture, and it's like me, Julie Fouché, Chris Clever, I think Annie might be in it. And it was in 2011, after a rope climb and clean and jerk event. We literally stayed on the field after the event, and we're all sitting in circle, like our shoes kicked off, and I think we were just chatting on the field, on the floor. We just all did this workout together.
Yeah, they used
and
to.
it was like
they don't do this anymore.
amazing.
They used to like bring all the athletes at the end of the competition out onto the floor, and they would like call out, be like, the winner of this event, won this.
I think they still do
Still doing
that.
that. I mean, I always thought that was like, and then people would just hang out. They would bring pizza down, and everyone.
No,
was
they
kinda,
still.
like,
I
eat
bet.
pizza and hang
Well,
out.
I don't know if they still do that because I haven't been on the floor in like 5 years. But my last year, they were still doing that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. All right, well, we'll end it there.
Yes.
The history of Camille Leblanc-bazinet.
Fun time.
People don't know, but now they know.
I miss that stuff.
Yeah.
I cherish all those memories very deeply.
Yes.
But not the one that people, necessarily think.
I think it's good to
A
look
lot
back.
of the small things in the back of the interaction with other athletes, with like Dave Castro, Nicole Carroll, the staff, just so many small interaction that were just filled with love and kindness and gratitude, that
and I just
shared
remember
suffering.
you just being so excited. Like you having all this hope in your heart and excitement, like Christmas morning. And I think it's great to like look back at the past with a lot of appreciation and not get stuck in it, but appreciate it for what it was and what you got out of it. And also, being happy that it is in the past and now you're a different person and you were able to take those things and use them to your strengths and be able to continue to write your story.
Yes.
And not just get stuck in one moment.
As a mom, because now that's Zoe.
Yes.
Zoe's that little shiny now.
She's got that sparkle.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.